The sound of my stepmother's sneering voice was worse than the car engine backfiring. "He's just a loser mechanic, Alex. He smells like oil and failure. You're 28, and you still haven't moved out because your father can't afford 2 square meals a day." That insult, thrown across the dining table, was the final verdict on my father's life. I watched my father, Sam, lower his head and stay silent, absorbing the shame like he always did. But that silence wasn't weakness. It was a carefully constructed shield hiding a colossal secret, a truth so profound, only a highly decorated VA officer in a locked, secure room could finally tell me my name is Alex Vance. My father, Sam, was a man defined by 2 things: grease and quiet resignation. He woke up at 5 a.m., worked until dusk at his dilapidated single-bay garage, Sam's Autos, and earned just enough to cover the bare minimum. He was meticulous with engines but appeared careless with his finances. My stepmother, Joyce, was a relentless social climber. She measured worth only in assets and appearances. The constant verbal abuse was a core part of our family life. She would often compare him to her sister's husband, Robert, a corporate lawyer. Joyce: "Robert just bought a condo in Miami. Meanwhile, we can't replace this cracked tile floor." "Why, Sam?" "Because you won't leave that disgusting garage and get a real job. You're just a loser mechanic, Sam. A failure to this family." The worst part was Sam's silence. He would simply retreat, never explaining why he stayed with the garage, why he refused any large repair contracts, or why he accepted this meager existence. I, too, was trapped, working part-time to help cover the rent, perpetually ashamed of our situation. 2 months ago, Sam passed away suddenly. A massive heart attack. The funeral was small. Joyce was already talking to the priest about the shameful debt Sam left behind and how quickly she could liquidate the garage. I felt a renewed wave of failure, realizing I was now responsible for clearing his supposed debt. A week after the funeral, I received a thick, formal envelope bearing the seal of the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, Special Liaison Office. The letter was unsettling. Mandatory attendance required regarding the status of the estate of Samuel Vance. Immediate action required. Do not bring family members. I was completely bewildered. Veteran, my father. He never once mentioned military service. I drove to the massive, fortress-like VA building. I was nervous, still dressed in my work boots. I was led past the busy reception and into a quiet, restricted corridor. I was met by a stern, distinguished man in a crisp uniform, Commander Hayes. He didn't shake my hand or offer a word of comfort. His expression was professional and grave. He led me into a small, windowless office. "Commander Hayes, Mr. Vance, this meeting is highly sensitive. We are dealing with classified operational records." He walked straight to the door and flipped the lock. The sharp metallic click echoed ominously. I felt a surge of adrenaline and fear. "Commander Hayes, what I am about to tell you falls under classified military protocol and must remain confidential until the legal disclosure is complete. Your father, Sam Vance, was not merely a mechanic. His background is highly decorated. He was a Tier 1 Special Operations Force Master Engineer who served in highly sensitive roles during the Gulf Wars. He slid a small, heavy black box across the table. Inside, resting on red velvet, was the Silver Star, one of the nation's highest military decorations for valor. Commander Hayes. Your father's job wasn't just field maintenance. It was designing and rapidly deploying classified defense systems under fire. He saved hundreds of lives with his ingenuity. He was forced to retire early due to severe classified operational injuries. He was a hero, Mr. Vance. He chose to live a life of obscurity, insisting on manual labor because he was profoundly disillusioned with the greed and noise of the modern world. He wanted simple, quiet, honest work. The commander opened a separate, official-looking, leather-bound ledger. Commander Hayes. This leads to the matter of his estate. When your father retired, his compensation was extraordinary. Because of the patented nature of a defense system he personally engineered, he was compensated in 2 distinct ways: He pointed to a line entry. Commander Hayes. First, the military established a Special Operations Trust Fund. The initial deposit was substantial. Over 20 years, managed by a private fiduciary outside of civilian banking networks, that fund is now valued conservatively at approximately $47 million. I felt the blood drain from my face. My father, the man Joyce called a failure, was a $47 millionaire who worked on rusty Chevrolets. Commander Hayes. Second, your father was meticulous. He foresaw the exact issues you are now facing with your stepmother's avarice. He knew she would demand the money and likely destroy the only thing he truly loved, the garage. He produced a document, a final codicil to the will signed 6 months ago. To Joyce Vance, stepmom. A single, non-negotiable bequest of $50,000 for her comfort, contingent upon her immediate written renunciation of any claim to the remainder of the estate. The commander added, your father called this the bait. To Alex Vance, son, the entire Special Operations Trust Fund, now valued at $47 million, and the deed to the only true property he ever cared about, Sam's Autos. Commander Hayes. Mr. Vance, your father lived a life of deliberate, conscious poverty for 20 years to ensure this money was entirely shielded from anyone who did not value his true self. The oil, the failure, the shame, it was all a brilliant camouflage. He protected you with his silence. I left the VA office no longer the ashamed son of a loser mechanic, but the heir to a fortune built on integrity and courage. The first person I called was the estate lawyer, instructing him to execute the VA codicil immediately. The confrontation with Joyce was held at the lawyer's office. She was demanding liquidation of the garage and half the supposed $50,000 in assets she thought he had. Joyce, shrill and demanding, I want that garage sold by Friday. I deserve that money for putting up with his disgusting habits for 2 decades. Alex, calmly. Joyce, my father's estate is not what you think. His total net worth is $47 million. The room fell silent. Her lawyer dropped his pen. Joyce erupted in hysterical laughter, thinking I was lying. Joyce, $47 million. Are you insane? Why was he a loser mechanic if he was worth $47 million? Alex, he was never a loser, Joyce. He was a special operations master engineer and a hero. He lived simply because he refused to let money define him, or to let people like you corrupt his life. He made sure the money built on saving lives, was protected from people who only value superficial wealth. The lawyer slid the will and the $50,000 check across the table. Alex, you get $50,000, the exact amount my father calculated you'd need for one expensive handbag and a pair of shoes. Take it and sign the renunciation, or face a lengthy VA lawsuit that will leave you with nothing and expose you publicly. Her greed won. She signed. The $47 million was mine. I didn't liquidate the garage. I renovated it, keeping the old sign. I turned Sam's Autos into the new headquarters for the Sam Vance Legacy Foundation, dedicated to providing seed funding and training to highly skilled veterans starting quiet, honest trades. The noise and greed Sam hated would now be countered by his legacy of purpose. I placed the silver star in a prominent glass case on the wall, next to a photo of my father, smiling, with a smudge of oil on his cheek. The stepmom called Dad a loser mechanic for 20 years. That constant insult, however, was the only thing that allowed him to hide his true worth. The VA officer locked the door and told me the profound truth. My quiet, oil-stained father was a hero and a millionaire, who sacrificed comfort and took the shame to ensure his immense fortune was inherited by the only person who never judged his worth by his wallet. He drove away from that VA office, finally understanding the true meaning of honor. My father taught me the ultimate lesson. True wealth isn't the money you flash, it's the quiet integrity you keep. And sometimes, the man who smells like oil and failure is actually a hero who shielded a multi-million-dollar fortune just for you. If you believe that quiet heroes deserve the greatest rewards, share your story in the comments. And if you agree that integrity and silence can be the ultimate defense, hit that like and subscribe button.